But what we need to talk to Merce about now is what happened at the Emirates today.
Arsenal's turbulent relationship with VAR reached another breaking point as the Gunners were once again left feeling cheated, this time after Chelsea were awarded a goal that replay strongly suggested was clearly offside. In a match that should have been defined by intensity, quality, and tactical intrigue, the post-match conversation was instead consumed by outrage, disbelief, and renewed anger toward a system that continues to divide opinion across the Premier League. The clash between Arsenal and Chelsea carried huge significance, not only because of the historic rivalry between the two London sides, but also because of what was at stake in the league table. Arsenal entered the game knowing that every point mattered in their pursuit of consistency and momentum, while Chelsea were eager to prove their resurgence under pressure. What unfolded, however, left Arsenal supporters feeling that the contest was once again influenced by forces beyond the players' control. From the opening stages, Arsenal imposed themselves with confident possession and sharp movement, pressing high and forcing Chelsea into hurried clearances. The Gunners looked well drilled, moving the ball quickly through midfield and probing for openings down the flanks. Chelsea, on the other hand, appeared content to absorb pressure and look for opportunities on the counter-attack, a tactic that would eventually lead to the most controversial moment of the evening. The turning point arrived midway through the second half. Chelsea broke forward at pace, threading a pass through Arsenal's defensive line. The attacker raced onto the ball and finished clinically, sending the away supporters into celebration. On the pitch, there was an immediate sense of uncertainty. Arsenal defenders raised their arms, convinced the runner had gone too early. Despite these protests, the assistant referee allowed play to continue, and attention swiftly turned to VAR. What followed only deepened the frustration. Multiple broadcast angles appeared to show the Chelsea attacker clearly ahead of the last Arsenal defender at the moment the ball was played. His upper body and knee seemed beyond the defensive line, an image that, to many, left little room for debate. Yet after a lengthy review, VAR ruled the goal onside, confirming the decision and sending shockwaves through the stadium. The reaction was instant and explosive. Arsenal players surrounded the referee, demanding clarity. The crowd erupted in boos, disbelief echoing around the ground. Even neutral observers struggled to understand how the decision had been reached. The familiar graphic of offside lines appeared on screens, but rather than providing reassurance, it sparked even more confusion. The margins looked stretched, the angles questionable, and the explanation non-existent. For Arsenal fans, this was not an isolated incident. It felt like the latest entry in a growing catalogue of VAR decisions that have gone against the club in crucial moments. Over recent seasons, Arsenal have seen goals disallowed for marginal offsides, penalties denied despite apparent fouls, and opposition goals allowed under highly debatable circumstances. Each incident chips away at trust, and this latest controversy only reinforced the belief among supporters that consistency remains a distant dream. On the touchline, Mikel Arteta cut a visibly frustrated figure. Animated and vocal, he gestured repeatedly, clearly struggling to comprehend the outcome of the review. While managers often choose their words carefully in post-match interviews to avoid sanctions, Arteta's body language throughout the game told its own story. The sense of injustice was unmistakable. The psychological impact on Arsenal was clear. Moments after the goal was awarded, the team appeared shaken. Their rhythm faltered, passes went astray, and Chelsea grew increasingly comfortable. Confidence shifted, not through superior play, but through a decision that altered the emotional balance of the match. Arsenal still pushed forward, driven by urgency and anger, but the feeling lingered that the contest had already been tilted. Chelsea, to their credit, capitalized on the situation. They managed the game effectively, slowing the tempo and disrupting Arsenal's flow whenever possible. Yet even their performance was overshadowed by the controversy. Rather than celebrating tactical discipline or individual brilliance, the narrative centered almost entirely on VAR and whether the technology had once again failed to deliver fairness. After the final whistle, the fallout intensified. Social media platforms were flooded with screenshots, freeze frames, and slowed-down clips, all pointing to the same conclusion: the Chelsea scorer appeared offside. Former players, pundits, and analysts joined the debate, many openly questioning how VAR officials could have arrived at such a decision given the visual evidence available. Some described it as inexplicable, while others labeled it another example of VAR overcomplicating the simple. The broader issue extends far beyond one goal or one match. VAR was introduced to eliminate clear and obvious errors, not to create new controversies through forensic line drawing and subjective interpretations. Yet time and again, supporters are left confused, with no access to audio discussions or detailed explanations. When decisions seem to contradict what millions of viewers can plainly see, frustration is inevitable. For Arsenal, the sense of grievance is amplified by the stakes. In a league where margins are razor-thin, dropped points due to controversial calls can have long-lasting consequences. Whether it affects league position, confidence, or momentum, the impact is real. Players are left wondering what more they can do, while fans increasingly question the integrity of the process meant to ensure fairness. This incident has also reignited calls for reform. Many are demanding greater transparency, including live explanations from VAR officials and clearer visual representations of decisions. Others argue that the offside rule itself needs rethinking, suggesting that attackers should be given the benefit of the doubt in close situations rather than having goals decided by barely perceptible margins. As the dust settles, Arsenal must attempt to refocus on the challenges ahead. Yet the lingering bitterness remains. It is difficult to simply move on when the same issues resurface week after week. Supporters want accountability, clarity, and consistency, not apologies after the fact or vague statements that fail to address the core problem. Once again, Arsenal are left asking familiar questions. How was that goal allowed to stand? Why do similar situations seem to be judged differently from match to match? And when will VAR truly deliver on its promise rather than undermine trust in the game? For now, the record will show Chelsea scored, the goal stood, and the points were decided. But in the minds of many, this match will be remembered not for footballing excellence, but as another painful reminder that Arsenal's battles are no longer fought solely on the pitch, but also in the unseen rooms where VAR lines are drawn and decisions are made.